Hey there, everybody. I'm going to try and get this as quick as I can to go over some budget items. We need to make an amendment to our budget. Back in the spring when we set, or summer when we set our budget for this fall, we didn't know how things would play out with COVID virus, and excuse me, if we would have indoor seasons, what those would look like, and we are moving ahead with those. So we'll talk about the indoor percussion budget as well as the winter guard budget, just to kind of provide some transparency for us and to make sure that we're following our own bylaws that state that the general members should vote on amendments to bylaws as well as the budget, and not just the board that meets once a month. So we're going to go through those now. I'm going to attach these files as well as a Google form to our website under the Booster Association, and make sure we send this out via our MailChimp email as well as the band app, and any other avenues that we have to get information to parents. So here we see the indoor percussion budget. We've got a column for the item, the total cost, any notes that'll kind of help break those things down. We see show music and drill, cost money for the time just to write those things out, and Eric is well versed in doing that and is already working on that for us. And so that's to compensate for that. Visual consultant, Eric and Kyle were working out. They thought that it would be beneficial to the students to have a visual person come in and help teach those aspects to our students to make them better at that, and they found a way to work that into the budget and not be different than the budget that I originally sent to them that did not have that component. So we have great staff members being frugal with the money that we have available. Circuit fees, this covers competition, registration, and those type of things. Staff breakdown, 13 weeks of the season, 2 rehearsals a week, $100 per rehearsal, breaks out to $2,600 per staff people that are full-time. Uniforms, we know we'll have to do something here. We're going to keep it as cheap as we can, but we want to have some money to work with that for our students. Transportation, that's not a bus. The percussion equipment is pretty large compared to winter guard, and so they need a bigger trailer, more trailers, or we may need to look at doing a box truck for that. We may be looking to do some fundraising to offset some additional money here. We want to keep the fees low so students could participate in this activity. Props, we don't think there's going to be a lot here. We may want a couple little things as we go. But we kept that nice and low. We do have our own floor we're able to use on site, so we don't have to purchase one of those. Drum heads, sticks, and mallets, these things wear out over time. The drum heads wear out over time, the sticks wear out over time, and we needed to get some new of those because we didn't do that in the fall. And so it's time, especially competing, we want to get the best sounds out of our drums and instruments we can, and that's a necessary item there. Music licensing, they're using music from Interstellar, so we've got to pay copyright licensing for that. Brings the total cost to $10,850 divided over 27 members. $400 a piece leaves a difference of about $27 for the entire budget, and I know we can sell 2 or 3 or 4 raffle tickets and we can make that up, so that doesn't cause any concern that that's in the red. That'll be easy enough to alter with fundraising efforts. So that takes us through the percussion budget. Now let's move over to the winter guard budget. This is a group that we run yearly, not a new one, so we have a little bit better idea of how that's going to turn out. Circuit fees did go up this year, and so that's there to offset that. Transportation, students don't ride buses here either, and so this is mostly to cover trailers. We try and add money to offset mileage for those who pull the trailers. A lot of the folks who pull the trailers donate their time and effort, so we don't have to pay that, but we always want to make sure it's there in case they would like to, because it does create wear and tear on their vehicles. Uniforms, here we've gone much cheaper than normal, because we're not doing custom uniforms like we usually do to keep costs down. $100 per student times 29 brings us that $2,900, and we can see details over here to the side. Uniform parts for the show and a back pullover warm-up. This was something we intended to roll out this fall and weren't able to, just because we didn't know what was going to happen as far as everything was going to go. But being in competition mode, we need to make sure that we have those warm-ups for our color guard, and our old company we used to use don't carry the styles that we had used before, and so we've shifted to be aligned with BSN and Varsity Brands, which outfits the other athletes on campus. So we have a nice professional look that fits into the brand of the school itself, as well as our own brand. but we do have to buy for everybody, and there's some expense here, but we didn't want to charge extra for that because everybody needs to have it, and so we've worked that into our budget here, and we'll work on ordering those over the break. Floor, we already had one of those, so we didn't have to budget any cost for that, but that can be an expense each year to make sure the floor matches with what's going on. Equipment, this is an area where we needed to buy a good bit of stuff. We wanted to make sure that students who were participating were being trained in all of the aspects of guard, so we needed to purchase some rifles, some sabers, as well as just refresh our flagpole tapes and stoppers and things that are starting to wear out a little bit. This will be a little bit more than this, but again, those things we use in the fall. Also, we have some money where we didn't purchase those in the fall to offset any additional above this $500 to make sure that we have those for our students. So we left that alone there. Drill, Paige writes the drill, she writes the choreography, and that all takes a lot of time outside of rehearsal to put together, to think about, to adjust, to map out how that's going to go, and so this is to offset the time spent there. Props, we don't anticipate a lot of stuff there, but sometimes it helps further the show to have a couple of things made, so a little bit of money there in case we need it. The biggest part with any of our budgets is always staff, because we're paying people for their time to invest into our students, and we don't have the luxury of these staff members already working for the county as teachers, and so we don't have a way to offset that through county funds, and so it does end up being a good large portion of our budgets, again, because they don't already work for the school teaching these subjects, because there's not a color guard class. That'd be awesome if there was. There's a percussion class, and we are having Kyle and Eric come in and work as a part of our class day a little bit, but there's not a percussion class taught by a percussion person. That's just not the way things are set up in most places. So here's our two staff. You can see the way we've broken that down, the formula we're going to use to pay them for their time. We just did a flat fee for auditions, our head position, our assistant position, Saturday camps is just a block fee that we'll pay to them, and the total estimate cost for each staff position brings our total to $14,040. Number of members 29, and we charge $415 for this activity. That left a difference in the red of $69 for the total, which again, it will be very easy to make up with a SAFA show and to sell a handful of raffle tickets, which we're going to ask students to do when we come back in January, kind of refresh the raffle ticket here in the last few months of that particular fundraiser. So I feel confident in these budgets that they'll work, that the cost will at least be that amount or less, except for, again, the equipment winter guard, which we're going to make sure that we utilize some of the monies that we set aside in the fall as well, because that equipment will benefit both guard programs. I sent this to the board to review last week, and they gave it the green light as well. So I'll attach a Google Doc for you to vote like we did on the general budget this last fall. If you'll make sure you knock that out by the date listed in the description there, we'll make sure and send this out to everybody so everybody gets a chance to look at it. If you have any questions about this, please email me quickly so we have time to take care of that before we get out for break at the end of the week. My email address is Stephen, STEPHEN.long, LONG, at CherokeeK12.net. You can direct questions. You might just wonder what the heck a word means. Again, I've been doing this for a little while now, and so some things are old hat for me and they're new hat for you, and you might just wonder, what's this thing? Or explain this a little bit further. And we want to be transparent, and as transparent as we can be. So feel free to ask those questions. We're going to post this on our website so anybody can see what we're up to. Transparency breeds trust, and that's what we want to make sure we do with families, is that we're asking you to pay money for these activities, that you understand where your money's going, how it's being spent, and that we're not just wasting it or asking for more than we should. So thank you so much for hanging out to the end of this video. If you have questions, email me. Have a great holiday season. See ya.